This is part B for your turn, number 4. So I'm going to move this over here so we can solve it. So for this problem, we have c squared is equal to 196. So we have a variable to the second power. So to undo a square, we take the square root. So we're going to square root both sides. So what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So we're going to write that radical, that square root symbol, to both sides. Now remember, this side is asking square root of c squared. What that means is, what number right here is being multiplied by itself? Well, you should know that c squared means c times c. So what number in this term is being multiplied by itself? Well, it's c, because that means c times c. So the square root of c squared is just c. Equals. Now, the square root of 196, that is one that I told you to know. So in your list, you need to know these. But this is a perfect square, 196, so the square root of 196 is 14. But our answer is not only 14, it's also negative 14. Because 14 times 14 is positive 196, but because we're taking a number times itself, that's an even number of times that we're using it as a factor. So those negatives are going to cancel out, giving us still a positive 196 when we multiply those two numbers together. So that's for every single x squared equation. It's going to have two answers, the positive and the negative, because we put the square root there. Remember, if the square root was already there, if I just said, hey, what's the square root of 196? You would just say 14, because we've agreed in mathematics that if the square root is there, we only want the positive of the square root. Or if there's a negative on the outside, then I'm asking for the negative square root, which is negative 14. But when we put the square root there, when it's an equation asking for all the possibilities for this variable c, we have to remember that there's actually two possibilities. So our answer is positive 14 and negative 14, two answers. Another way I showed you to write it is plus or minus 14. So you can use that math symbol that means the positive of this number and the negative of this number. And that's it for part B.